Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder. As you may or may not be able to tell based off my voice, I'm actually slightly sick, but don't worry about me guys, I'm doing perfectly fine. It's just a very minor cold, but still wanted to bring you guys a video, so we're just going to jump right into the ladder right now, as unfortunately in yesterday's episode we did split one win and one loss, and basically when you're this high in the ladder, you need to win 2 games if you're, playing 2 games to really advance any further. Otherwise, if you win one and lose one, you're basically going to lose points. But Casti from Italy with a rating of 1864 is going to be our first opponent of the day here, so a win would put us back over 1900, but definitely not going to be an easy match here, as we've got a pretty tough matchup. So opponent here has a team of Sylveon, Breloom, Kangaskhan, Suicune, Terrakion, and Talonflame. So immediately, I notice the Suicune Breloom combo, which has defeated me in Road to Ranked in the past. I think it's really strong. Breloom itself is just very irritating to deal with. Now, my Venusaur here is essential to the matchup because it beats Sylveon, it beats Suicune, it beats Terrakion. Breloom can't spore it, nor can it really touch it. So, I think the main goal of this game really will be to knock out Talonflame immediately, because once Talonflame goes down, Venusaur can really do a great job. As always, though, the trickiest thing is figuring out who to lead with. I think Gengar here is a pretty safe lead, as it really always is. Gengar, one of my favorite leads in VGC 15, just because of its ability to disrupt the opponent, through Icy Winds and Will-O-Wisps and whatnot. But I do have to watch out because Kangaskhan, of course, gets scrappy, so it could potentially fake out me in the first turn and break my Sash. And the question is who I want to pair right now next to Gengar. I don't feel like my opponent's going to lead with Talonflame. I actually feel like Breloom is a pretty smart lead for my opponent here. So maybe I just want to predict my opponent not to lead with Talonflame and bring Venusaur. Let's see. I'm actually pretty Breloom weak now that I look at my team, which is slightly problematic. I could go with Heatran and set up a substitute on the first turn, predicting, my opponent to protect with Breloom. Or Spore, so, sub obviously would prevent the Spore. Definitely a tough call here, though. Gengar, maybe Gengar Suicune? Actually, I don't mind Gengar Suicune, yeah, with Venusaur in the back, and I think Terrakion is the last one. That makes sense to me. Yeah. I'm gonna lock in here. It feels a bit weird to keep the Heatran and the Bisharp out of the game, just because both of those Pokemon have really good matchups against Sylveon. But Mega Venusaur is one of my favorite Pokemon to beat Sylveon, even though it doesn't outright beat it, because, of course, Sylveon often carries Psyshock, which actually does super effective damage against Venusaur. But I'm gonna go with Gengar Suicune here, just because Suicune I feel like gives me very good options against my opponent's team. As we see the Terrakion and Sylveon lead coming out from my opponent here, that's actually a pretty ideal lead matchup here, just because Suicune can set up Tailwind, and I can, Icy Wind, Will-O-Wisp, whatnot. So, I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out, just because I feel like if I led with something like, Bisharp, or, I was thinking of leading Bisharp, even though I ultimately didn't bring it in the match. Venusaur here as a lead wouldn't have been too bad either, but you know what, I'm not going to complain, I really like this matchup here. I think what I'm going to do is immediately go for the Sludge Bomb onto Sylveon and set up a Tailwind here with Suicune. There's not much my opponent can do to prevent the Tailwind. I expect the Rock Slide and Hyper Voice, so I'm fully ready to lose my, Gengar here, as I actually get the Poison on Sylveon, which is fortunate for me. As, yep, Terrakion does go straight for the Rock Slide, and we're probably going to see a Hyper Voice come out from Sylveon. My best bet, Spec Sylveon, but that Rock Slide does so much damage. Suicune, however, does not flinch and successfully gets up Tailwind, which is fantastic for me here. Oh, as we actually see the Shadow Ball coming out of Sylveon. So aggressive double target into the Gengar there to knock it out, but hey, I'm not going to mind. Suicune ends up taking less damage than I really expected it to. So that ends up playing out really well as I get, free Tailwind turn 1 and Fortunate Poison against the Sylveon. So let's see, based off what my opponent has in the back, I think it makes sense to bring in, I'm gonna bring in Terrakion here just because actually no, I'll play it safer and bring in Venusaur just so I can Mega Evolve immediately. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do here is go straight for the Giga Drain onto Terrakion and Scald the Sylveon in case it wants to switch out into Talonflame potentially. Yeah. So I've definitely got the advantage here, given that I'm up 4-3, or not I'm up 4, I'm down 3-4, but I have Tailwind up, which is really important right now, so I have to take advantage of all these Tailwind turns. Both Pokemon are going to stay in, so I'm predicting Terrakion going for the Protect and Sylveon trying to go for an attack, so I'm probably just going to pick up a free knockout this turn, but let's see. as Terrakion does go for the Protect. So one thing I was considering was switching out into Terrakion, because that way, you know, I'd get a knockout here against the Sylveon, and then the Talonflame is probably going to come in here to replace Sylveon. If my opponent didn't bring in Talonflame, then he's just going to be in a lot of trouble, just because Venusaur, like I said, beats my opponent's entire team. But time to find out what comes in here. Let's see if it's that Talonflame or not. It's actually going to be Kangaskhan. So I'm wondering if my opponent actually brought Talonflame or not. You know, Kangaskhan makes a lot of sense here too, just because it can fake out right away, it can double edge even if it wants to. So, good switching from my opponent there for sure. Now, let's see. I have Terrakion on the back, and Terrakion outright beats Kangaskhan, so I think what I'm going to do here is double up into this Terrakion with a Scald and a Giga Drain. I'm expecting Kangaskhan to go for a fake out onto one of my Pokemon. Terrakion's actually going to switch out. Let's see what comes in. Into Talonflame. So, the best play here for my opponent would be to fake out the Suicune and to just, yeah, I mean, you'd have to imagine the fake outs going onto Suicune here. A good switch by my opponent there, though. I was not anticipating that. But, oh, wow! My opponent's not gonna gonna use the fake out against Talonflame. That's a hard punish, as I'm gonna be able to pick up the knockout there with Scald. So I'm guessing we're gonna see a double edge come out of Kang, which would make sense. But that was a lot of free damage for me there on that first turn, and I have another turn of Tailwind left. As we do see double edge going to Suicune, but as you guys all know, my Suicune is very defensively built, so it's gonna be able to take both of these hits with relative ease, and I do have that Citrus Berry to heal back. So that was really, really big. Venusaur can actually just, you know, handle Kangaskhan and Terrakion by itself, but I've still got Suicune and I've still got my own Terrakion in the back. Of course, I'm going to want to watch out a bit, just because, of course, Terrakion mirror matches are always kind of annoying, but right now, tough position for my opponent to be in. Now, given that Kangaskhan went for the double edge, I'm guessing he has Protect, so we might just see a double Protect this turn. That would make the most sense to me, at least. I'm gonna just go for the Sludge Bomb onto Kang and the Scald onto Terrakion. Once I knock out one of the two, you know, it's basically game over. As Terrakion goes for the Protect, let's see if Kangaskhan has that Protect or not. As it does have Protect, so that explains why I did not go for the fake out the previous turn. So my opponent can still win here with a couple of timely flinches from Rock Slide, and we all know how good of a move Rock Slide is, as Tailwind does peter out. So the good thing here is Rock Slide won't be able to KO Suicune. I don't even think Close Combat can, so what I'm going to do here is go straight for the Giga Drain onto Terrakion, and I'm going to try to Tailwind here. If I do get up another Tailwind, it's basically game over. As we do see Terrakion going for the Rock Slide, you know, at this point, flinching is your best bet of winning the game, and Suicune is able to take that. We do see Double Edge coming out of Kang. Let's see who it targets, though. It's going to target down Venusaur, so if either of my attacks go through here, I'm good, but I'm hoping for no flinches. Let's see, though. This is actually very tense. Suicune sets up the Tailwind. That is absolutely huge. I really needed that, so thank goodness. Let's see if Venusaur gets the Giga Drain off here. It does, so very fortunate turn for me there, as neither of my Pokemon flinched. I'm able to do a ton of damage against that Terrakion, get a Giga Drain off. That's basically essentially going to seal up the game for me, because all I have to do here is just Sludge Bomb Kangaskhan and Scald. So had I double flinched with both of my Pokemon there, I think it would have ultimately come down to the speed tie between our Terrakions. I mean, I would have had to predicted whether his Terrakion went for Protect or whether it just went for an attack. My best bet, that Terrakion has a Lumberry. I'm not sure, but we'll, you know. Kang here is going to go for Sucker Punch against Suicune. I think it's actually going to pick up the knockout there, as it does. But that's fine with me. Good move there, you know. You'd expect that Sucker Punch to come out. Going for the Sludge Bomb here against Kangaskhan, going to pick up the knockout. Terrakion Rock Slide should not knock out my Venusaur, though it is full target now. Actually avoid it. So Rock Slide's one of those moves where it either hits and like flinches everything, or it just misses and doesn't do anything. But it is still, you know, has been historically one of the best moves in VGC. So Terrakion and Gengar. Terrakion and Venusaur now against my opponent's Terrakion. All I need is one hit. Not going to Protect there. Tailwind boosted speed, gonna pick up the knockout against my opponent's Terrakion. So, I am gonna be able to win this first game of the day 2-0, and pretty good match, honestly. Good plays by my opponent there. I think the Rock Slide, I mean, obviously at that point, my opponent's out to winning the game was to flinch with Rock Slide, which makes sense, and, you know, chances of double flinching with Rock Slide aren't exactly the slimmest, as previously demonstrated in Road to Rank. I think one of the probably biggest mistakes my opponent made Not that it was a huge mistake, but I thought when the Kangaskhan came out that it was definitely going to have Fake Out, but obviously revealed Protect instead. So, given my opponent's position, I think it would have made a bit more sense to switch in the Talonflame. Obviously, at that point, it would have come down to mind games, because I could have just protected Venusaur and scalded Talonflame. But, I don't know. I think Talonflame would have just put on a lot more offensive pressure, and that is why I wasn't sure whether I wanted to bring in the Venusaur, the Terrakion, when I got the Tailwind up for free. But ultimately, really great lead matchup, really good first couple of turns, and my opponent switching in the Talonflame allowed Venusaur and Tailwind to really shine. So, fun game there against a highly rated player, and we do jump back over the 1900s, which is awesome. So, you know, for the next couple of episodes, we'll probably be hovering up and below. But I'm hoping, you know, a really good just chain of battles and wins would allow us to, you know, continue to climb up the ladder. Obviously, it would be awesome to hit 1950s, maybe even 2000s. That would be a crazy goal. You know, when you do get up to this point of the ladder, all your opponents are fantastic, and the games are close, but, you know, that's one of the reasons why I love Road to Ranked. It's because I actually really get to feature high-quality VGC matches, especially when you're this high up in the ladder. Most of the opponents you're getting paired up against are very, very solid, and have great teams. So, I do like it. You know, it's rare to find quality VGC content in general, especially, like, if you look at all the other players who are on top of the, ladder, really, currently on BattleSpot. Not many of them make videos, as far as I'm aware of. So, I do like the series because it honestly helps me learn a lot about the metagame. It helps me, really learn to get better as a player, and I hope it's been helping you guys as well. And it's definitely been exciting. I know reaching the 1900s was an awesome experience the other day. But here we are again with the rating of 1908. Currently taking a while to find our second opponent of the day. So in addition, I am going to quickly plug in that St. Louis Regionals is this weekend, which I've mentioned a bunch of times. There are 3 other regionals throughout the country, one in California, Oregon, and I believe the last one is in Virginia. I'm going to St. Louis because it was really cheap for me to fly out there. They're actually streaming the event, so if you did not hear about that, twitch.tv/Pokemon will be streaming St. Louis Regionals with official commentary from Scott Glaza and Evan Lett, as we actually couldn't find an opponent there, so gonna quickly jump on again and look for one. Whoops, didn't mean to click yes there, but whatever, it's no big deal. So yeah, it's gonna be streamed Saturday and Sunday. I'm not sure what day VGC is because they're streaming TCG as well. For those that don't know, Jay Witz and Puka will be doing commentary, and they're awesome commentary team. So yeah, definitely tune in this weekend to twitch.tv/Pokemon for some fantastic Pokemon matches, whether you're a TCG or VGC fan. I'm really hoping I can get featured on stream. I'm basically all I need is a top, even 64 finish, I think. Top 32, I think that's the, yeah. A top 32 finish there, as Felix from Spain is going to be our second opponent of the day with the rating of 1882, so did not take very long to find Felix this time around, with a team of Salamence, Heatran, Amoonguss, Rotom-Wash, Terrakion, Cresselia. I've definitely faced Felix before, but I'm not sure whether it was on stream or on Road to Ranked. Once again, we see another Terrakion, so many Terrakions today, but Terrakion, one of my favorite Pokemon in VGC 15, especially because how hard it counters Kangaskhan, which of course is one of the most common Pokemon in the format. But, team of Salamence, Heatran, Amoonguss, Rotom-Wash, Cresselia, and Terrakion here. So, very obviously, Salamence is the Mega Evolution. Potential Trick Room mode from Cresselia and Amoonguss, though Cresselia might also be carrying a move like Icy Wind over Trick Room. And of course, Tailwind's always an option as well. Not Tailwind, Thunder Wave. Salamence with Tailwind is an option, as I've actually faced against previously, but, you know, with that kind of Mega Salamence, I wouldn't expect it to. Let's see. Now, Suicune outright beats Heatran, Salamence, and Terrakion, but loses to Rotom-Wash, Amoonguss, and Cresselia. But I can take advantage of this because the 3 most offensive Pokemon on my opponent's team are the first 3 I mentioned. So Suicune here definitely going to be good, but I'm going to want to avoid Rotom-Wash, Amoonguss, and even Cresselia. I'm actually thinking of leading Venusaur and Suicune. I actually like that lead a lot, now that I think about it. Yeah. With, kind of want Bisharp here for my Crest matchup. And for the last one, I'm thinking Terrakion, just because again, one hit KO my opponent's Terrakion, Heatran, and can Rock Slide things too. Although Gengar here is kind of tempting because Icy Wind is a 2-hit KO on Salamence. So tough call to make here. But for this one, I'm gonna lead. I'm going with Terrakion, I think. And the reason behind this is because Gengar is normally a Pokemon I almost always go with, and, you know, honestly, it wouldn't even be a bad lead here. But just the fact that my opponent has, you know, double target moves like Rock Slide and Heat Wave from the Heatran and Terrakion, the fact I can't get a super effective hit off with Sludge Bomb is kind of big too. I really like bringing Gengar against Fairy types, but in this case, in this game, really not going to be the case. So Suicune Venusaur here. Let's see if Cresselia comes out for my opponent. No Cresselia. Gonna be Salamence and Rotom instead. This is actually really good for me because all I have to do turn 1 is Tailwind and Protect. And there's not... I mean, I guess my opponent could actually Double Edge into the Suicune and go for a T-Bolt. Let's see. I'm going to Tailwind. The question is, does Venusaur want to go for a Giga Drain onto Rotom? I don't have many great ways to otherwise deal with Rotom, though. So I'm going to Mega Evolve. And you know what? I'm just going to Protect. We'll see if my opponent goes for the double into Venusaur. I mean, not into Suicune. See, the thing is, honestly, if I were on my opponent's end, I would probably double into Suicune. I'm not sure if a Double Edge and T-Bolt could actually even knock me out. Probably could. Depends how how offensible those Pokemon are. But the Citrus Berry here is going to help me a lot. But let's see what my opponent goes for. So, Battle of the Mega Venusaur and the Mega Salamence, the two favorite Megas I've currently used in VGC 15. Really, I've built my teams around these two so far, so nice to see both of them here on the field. Venusaur goes for Protect, so no Protect coming out from Salamence or Rotom Wash. Double Edge, excellent play right into the Suicune, very nicely done. So it's going to take recoil damage. I am going to have my Citrus Berry here, so let's see. As... T-Bolt comes out. Very nicely done on my opponent's part. And I hang on with 32 HP. Perfect. And I get the Tailwind up. So, you know, this is one of the cases where I knew I could most likely survive the Double Edge T-Bolt double target there. So I felt relatively good, you know, making that play. Just because, you know, I didn't want to risk losing Venusaur. You know, let's say I attacked with Venusaur expecting the double target and... didn't get the prediction right, then I would have just lost Venusaur, and sure, Suicune would have been around, but Venusaur, like I said, is my best answer to my opponent's Rotom Wash. Now the question is whether I want to Ice Beam Salamence. You know, the Ice Beam target is pretty obvious. The best play for my opponent here is to just, protect Salamence and T-Bolt Suicune, so I can't KO it the following turn. So I could just make a prediction here and Snarl and Giga Drain. I mean, do I really need Snarl, though? Like... No, I'm gonna play it safe and Ice Beam and Giga Drain. You know, Salamence is... I think it's gonna Protect, but it's not like I really need Snarl anyway. Okay, it does go for the Protect, yeah. So, you know, I've read my opponent's moves both times this game, but I'm still playing it safe just because I'm not really willing to take these risks. I think, honestly, they're unnecessary, at least at this point in the battle, as I get a Giga Drain off that does a ton of damage. Gonna, you know, get that Citrus Berry, but, like, a Snarl here wouldn't have been that beneficial anyway, and I didn't want to switch out to anything I had in the back. So, Rotom here is gonna get a T-Bolt and knock out the Suicune, but you know what, that's fine by me, as that is going to fade. Let's see now. I'm gonna bring in Bisharp, I think. Actually, I'm gonna bring in Terrakion. See, one of the things is because I didn't, you know, make the, I'd say ballsier predictions the first two games, or first two rounds, I could be up in a better position right now, but I'm not, obviously, because I didn't make those plays. So the question here is who do I want to switch in? By taking out the Rotom Citrus Berry, I can't get full damage knockoff. So I'm leaning towards Terrakion here. Actually, no, I'm going to go with Bisharp. I think Terrakion is more important for the late game matchup. And because my opponent's Rotom Wash can one-hit KO me with a Hydro Pump. So, gonna Iron Head into Mence. And I'm gonna double up into Mence here with an Iron Head and Sludge Bomb. I'm not really worried about Rotom Wash right now, just because Venusaur beats that. And once Salamence goes down, my opponent doesn't have many good ways to actually beat Venusaur. Though my opponent might predict this and switch out Salamence. However, Salamence will switch out. So very good play so far from my opponent as Heatran comes in. So I should have knocked off there too. I've just not been playing well, honestly, so far. Since knockoff and Sludge Bomb would have KO'd anyway, so that was a really bad play on my end. This is one of the games where I feel like I should be doing 10 times better than I actually am. I've just been making all these average plays. I mean, I still don't regret the plays I made the first two turns, but that was a really bad play on my end. There was no, you know, knockoffs, like I said, and Sludge Bomb would have KO'd anyway. Knockoff would have done like over 50% to the Heatran there, so that was bad. I'm gonna knock off and Leech Seed the Heatran here. This is a... I messed up really bad that last turn. I really did. And if anything, this is one of the cases where, I know you guys have commented this before in past episodes too, it's like, you know, you really should play a bit riskier. If anything, this is kind of a testament to my playstyle against players I don't know very well. For example, when I'm playing against like World's Caliber players that I know personally, I make, you know, really risky calls just because I know how they play it in their playstyle. But in this case, you know, obviously that's not how I'm playing so far. Just because that's how I tend to play a bit safer against opponents that, you know, I don't know their playstyle, just because you don't want to overestimate or underestimate your opponent, but I am really kind of not getting the best of, you know, that right now. So Heatran's going to knock out Bisharp here with the Earth Power, and the Mega Salamence my opponent has in the back is probably the most concerning thing right now, as Rotom does get a Will-O-Wisp off as well against Venusaur. 2-4, you know, it's still definitely winnable, but man, I really missed that. I should have, like, that Heatran prediction was so easy to call, and the first 3 turns, really, I had a good read on my opponent and did not make any intense predictions because I didn't feel the need to, but had I, you know, called my opponent correctly, could have helped out. Risk versus reward is a very interesting discussion in VGC. Now let's see. I'm going to protect here with my Terrakion and go for the Giga into Rotom. Just because Terrakion is kind of essential in this matchup. At this point, I'm banking off my opponent's Mega Salamence being Adamant Nature. Because if it is Adamant Nature, like the Mega Salamence I've used in the past, then I can outspeed with Terrakion and Rock Slide. Rock Slide, of course, is a 2-hit KO, so there's the flinch chance. And there's a very good chance my opponent's actually going to knock himself out with the double edge recoil damage. So I'm not giving up yet, despite being down 2-4 and my opponent reading my plays pretty well the first turn. No switch outs here, which is good because I basically get some momentum off, but the question is whether Rotom protects or not. Heatran protects though, so that's really good. I'm guessing the Rotom here went for the Hydro into Terrakion, as it did. Perfect. So I do get the Giga Drain off, which is definitely what I needed to get back into this match. It actually picked up the KO there, I was not expecting that, but alright. Now the game is 2-3 in my opponent's favor, but I've got a full HP Terrakion and Venusaur. I'm guessing Mega Salamence is going to come in here, though, so it's time to see whether I get a flinch or not, I think. However, there's a chance that my opponent's actually just going to be able to outspeed me with it anyway, so the real question is what kind of spread the Salamence is, as it does come back in here. So, let's see. I could also... man, this is one of the places where I could... You know, it comes down, who is Salamence going to double edge here, you know? Maybe it's going to Dragon Dance, so the question is, do I want to protect with one of my Pokemon, expecting the double edge, and attack with the other, i.e. protect with Terrakion and Sludge Bomb Salamence? Oh, I hate these 50-50 calls so much. I think my opponent's going to target down Terrakion, so I'm very tempted right now to protect and Sludge Bomb Mence. Very tempted. You know what, I'm just going to go for the Rock Slide, though. Heatran switches out, alright. Let's see what Mence goes for, and let's see what comes in. Oh, it's going to be a Terrakion on my opponent's end, okay. Oh, it is faster. Who does it target down? It is going to target down Terrakion. Oh, but I survive! Whoa! Was not expecting that survival. Okay, okay, okay. This is good. Does Rock Slide knock it out? It knocks out the Salamence. Oh, it's going to come down to Speed Ties, isn't it? If I Giga Drain the Salamence slot instead, I mean, I wasn't expecting... I was really trying to just pick up the knockout there. Wow, Sludge Bomb does a lot there, actually. Can we get a Poison? Oh, no, okay. With the crit there, so... See, this is what I'm telling you guys. Don't give up until it's actually over, but... still going to be a tough game to win here, as Heatran comes out from my opponent's side. But, if anything, you know, I brought the game down to 2-2, so it's certainly possible. Certainly possible here, guys. Oh, gosh. If Venusaur wasn't burned here, I'd feel a lot better. So the question here is, do I attack with Terrakion? Or do I protect? This is really intense. Because, of course, the Terrakion's most definitely Speed Tie here. So what I could do is just close combat into Heatran and Giga Drain Terrakion. But then, if Heatran protects and Terrakion just Rock Slides, I'm done for. The reason why, however, if I can close combat the Heatran is expecting my opponent to protect with Terrakion. I could also just risk the speed tie and attack into my... this is tough. It's really tough. I think I'm going to protect here and Giga Drain. Yeah. Okay, my protect went off first. Does my opponent's Terrakion get a protect off? Oh, Heatran protects! I win this if he doesn't flinch with Rock Slide. Oh gosh. Please don't flinch with Rock Slide. All these games are coming down to Rock Slide, man. Oh my gosh. It gets the Giga Drain off and it knocks out the Terrakion. What an amazing match. Holy cow, guys. So I made the right call there. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Man, my Terrakion being able to hang on from that double edge was crucial, but hey, you guys asked, you know, what are the benefits of using admin over Jolly? Well, if that Salamis was admin nature, it would have been slower than Terrakion, but would have been able to pick up the one-hit KO, so... Oh my gosh, that's so intense. All I have to do here is close combat, and I'm gonna Leech Seed for insurance. But, that's crazy. We had a 2-4 comeback the other day, and we're gonna have another one today. So, lots of important lessons to learn in this match. First of all, you know, I've been criticizing how I played the first 2 turns, but once again, I still don't regret it because I still think you should make the safest plays possible, just because, you know, you want to get the most out of every turn instead of, you know, because if your opponent decides to end up not making the play you're expecting, you can really be in a bad position, so I'm definitely saving that match. I think the one turn I really did mess up, though, was the turn where Heatran switched in, because knockoff with Sludge Bomb, like I keep on saying, would have KO'd it anyway, and getting a knockoff against that Heatran would have been really big, because I wouldn't have been burned at that point. So that was one of the big mistakes, but ultimately I was able to get into the match, obviously, because I was able to hang on with a sliver of HP there with the Terrakion. So, what a crazy awesome match. 2 really amazing battles for you today, and like I keep on saying, that's why I love being on the high ladder, because you get these kind of quality matches. So, leave a like if you guys enjoyed it, and I shall see you tomorrow. Alright, peace guys.